walked through the crystal halls of the Galactic Senate building. Her human footsteps echoed against the smooth walls. Around her, hundreds of alien beings moved with grace. They had tentacles, wings, and bodies that glowed with their own light. Wore her best diplomatic uniform, but she still felt out of place. The Senate chamber was enormous. Seats rose up like a mountain, filled with representatives from 847 different worlds. Took her place in the bottom row. The human section was small and far from the center. Above her, the important species sat in golden chairs that floated in the air. Today's meeting was about trade routes. Listened as the trade consortium spoke. Their leader was tall and thin, with silver skin that sparkled under the lights. He talked about profits and efficient shipping lanes. When he mentioned human colonies, his voice carried disgust. The primitive colonies of Earth continue to waste valuable resources, he said. Their mining operations are slow and dangerous. They use outdated equipment and barbaric methods. Stood up. The human colonies produce more ore per worker than any other species, she said. Her voice was steady, but her hands shook with anger. Laughter filled the chamber. The eyes glowed brighter. Yes, because they work their people like animals. They mine on worlds that would kill civilized beings. This is not progress. This is desperation. The Senate leader, a floating jellyfish creature called waved a tentacle. The human representative will remain silent unless asked to speak. Sat down. She had heard this before. Humans were strong, yes, but only because they came from a death world. Earth was classified as Class XII dangerous. Most aliens needed special suits just to breathe Earth's air. The gravity would crush smaller species. The weather could kill. But humans lived there naturally. They grew up fighting to survive. This made them useful for dangerous jobs, mining poisonous asteroids, building stations near black holes, fighting pirates in the outer rim. Humans did the jobs that killed other species. The galaxy needed humans for these tasks, but they did not respect them. Captain sat in his ship's command center. The UES Explorer was one of only 12 human vessels allowed to travel freely through Confederation space. Even then, he needed special permits for each system. His crew was half human, half alien. The aliens were there to monitor human behavior. "Captain," said his science officer. She was, with 4 arms and blue skin. "We are receiving a message from Earth Command." Read the message on his screen. The wanted to inspect 3 human mining colonies. They claimed the humans were violating safety standards. Knew this was not true. He had visited those colonies. They were the safest operations in the sector. "Set course for the system," he ordered. "We need to get there before the due." His weapons officer, a young human named Tom, looked confused. "Sir, we're not supposed to interfere with Confederation business." Stared at the star map. Those colonies house 50,000 human families. They've been there for 30 years. If the takeover, where will those people go? The answer was nowhere. Humans were restricted to only certain worlds. Most planets in the Confederation were off-limits. Too dangerous for humans, the aliens said. Too primitive. Too violent. It was all lies. Humans could adapt to almost any world. They had proven this again and again. But the Confederation kept them locked in small spaces like animals in cages. Back on Earth, Admiral Sarah Blackwood stood in a secret facility deep underground. Around her, workers moved like busy ants. They built weapons and ships in hidden factories. The galaxy thought Earth was weak. They thought humans only had a few old ships and basic weapons. They were wrong. For 200 years, humans had been learning. Every alien technology that entered human space was studied. Every design was improved. Human engineers took alien ideas and made them better, stronger, faster. The Confederation shared their technology freely among member species, but they always gave humans the oldest versions, outdated designs that barely worked. They thought humans were too stupid to notice. Admiral Blackwood smiled. Let them think that. How many ships are ready? She asked her aide. 430 completed, ma'am. Another 70 will be finished this month. The aide was nervous. The secret fleet was huge. If the Confederation discovered it, they would call it an act of war. But humans had been careful. The ships were built in asteroid fields and empty nebulae, hidden from alien sensors. And the crews? Fully trained and ready. We have volunteers from every human world. Blackwood nodded. The crews came from mining colonies and research stations. They grew up in hard places. They knew how to fight and survive. Most aliens had lived in comfort for thousands of years. They had forgotten what real struggle meant. But not humans. Every human child learned to be strong. Their world demanded it. Returned to her apartment after another failed day in the Senate. The had voted to inspect the human colonies. The other species supported them, even the ones who claimed to be friends of humanity. She looked out her window at the alien city below. Beautiful towers reached toward the sky. Gardens floated in the air. Everything was clean and perfect. But beneath the beauty was something cold. The aliens cared only for themselves. Opened her private communication device. It was connected directly to Earth Command. The message was short but clear. Inspection fleet moving toward colonies. Recommend immediate response. She sent the message and waited. On Earth, Admiral Blackwood would receive it within hours. The Admiral would know what to do. Had spent 20 years trying to win respect through diplomacy. She had given speeches about human achievements. She had shown them art and music from Earth. She had explained human values like honor and sacrifice. The aliens had listened politely. Then they had continued treating humans like dangerous animals. Maybe it was time to show them what dangerous animals could really do. Outside her window, alien ships moved between the stars. They carried trade goods and passengers in comfort and safety. The ships were beautiful but weak, built for peace and profit. Wondered how they would perform in a real fight. Soon she thought they might find out. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were much more than simple miners and soldiers. They were about to discover what happened when a death world species finally got angry. And when humans got angry, worlds burned. The emergency message reached every human colony at the same time. Read it with growing horror in her Senate office. The hegemony of had made their demand. New Geneva must be evacuated within 30 days. New Geneva was home to 2.5 million humans. They had lived there for 3 generations. The first colonists had arrived when the world was nothing but ice and rock. Through decades of hard work, they had built cities and farms. They had made the harsh planet into a home. Now they wanted it gone. Rushed to the emergency Senate session. The chamber buzzed with alien voices. Most sounded pleased. They were a powerful species. They controlled 12 star systems and had the strongest military after the core worlds. The ambassador stood at the center podium. He was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like black metal. His voice boomed across the chamber. New Geneva sits in our security zone, he announced. Human presence there threatens our trade routes and military positions. For the safety of all Confederation members, they must leave. Shot to her feet. New Geneva is a recognized human colony. We have legal rights to that world. The ambassador's red eyes focused on her. Legal rights can be changed when security is at risk. The humans chose to build on a world near our territory. They accepted the risks. Those people have lived there for 60 years. They built that world from nothing. You cannot just take it because you want it. Laughter echoed through the chamber. The Senate leader waved a tentacle for silence. The motion will be put to vote. All those in favor of the security measure. Watched in despair as lights appeared across the chamber. Green lights meant yes. Red lights meant no. The board filled with green. Only one red light appeared in the human section. Motion passes. 734 votes in favor, 1 against. The human colony will be evacuated within the time. Stood alone as aliens filed out of the chamber. Many looked at her with pity, some with amusement, none with respect. Captain received the evacuation order while his ship orbited New Geneva. Below, the colony cities sparkled in the pale sunlight. Farms stretched across valleys that had once been frozen wastelands. Children played in parks their grandparents had carved from solid ice. "Captain, incoming transmission from the colony governor," reported his communications officer. The governor appeared on screen. She was an elderly woman named Sarah Price. Her family had been among the first colonists. "Captain, they cannot be serious about this evacuation. We have nowhere to go. Earth is already overcrowded. The other human worlds cannot support millions of refugees." Felt sick. She was right. Humans were restricted to only a few worlds. Most were already at maximum population. New Geneva had been their hope for expansion, their chance to spread out and grow. "Governor, I wish I could help, but the Senate has voted." 60 years, Captain. 60 years of blood and sweat. My husband died building the first shelter. My son died in a mining accident. 3 generations of sacrifice, and they want to throw it away for their security zone. Close the channel. He stared at the planet below. His parents had been born there. He had taken his first steps in New Geneva's low gravity. Now it would all be lost. 3 days later, the first incident occurred. A human transport ship carrying medical supplies to New Geneva disappeared. The Confederation patrol that found the wreckage claimed it was an accident. "Engine failure," they said. "All hands lost." Captain, now commanding his own vessel, investigated the crash site. What he found made his blood run cold. The transport had been hit by military-grade weapons. This was not an accident. This was murder. "Send a message to Earth Command," he ordered. "Priority 1. The Confederation is already attacking our ships." More incidents followed. A human research station studying asteroid mining was suddenly raided by Confederation forces. They claimed the humans were conducting illegal weapons research. The scientists were arrested and taken to unknown locations. Human merchant ships were stopped and searched without cause. Their cargo was seized for safety inspections that never ended. Families trying to leave New Geneva found their passenger ships turned away at every port. Tried to speak for her people, but no one would listen. Her requests for meetings were. Her communications went unanswered. When she finally managed to address the Senate, she faced a chamber that was mostly empty. "You are forcing us into a corner," she warned the few aliens present. "Humans will not abandon their people. We will not let millions die because you want their world." The Senate leader barely looked at her. "Humans have 30 days to comply. If they refuse, they have permission to enforce the evacuation. And if we resist, then you will face the consequences of defying the Confederation." Felt something break inside her. 20 years of diplomacy, 20 years of trying to build bridges, all wasted. "You think we are weak," she said quietly. "You think we are just animals from a dangerous world. You are wrong." The few aliens in the chamber laughed. The ambassador, who had been watching with amusement, stood up. "What can humans do? You have maybe 20 ships, we have thousands. Your weapons are centuries behind ours. Your technology is primitive. You mine rocks and fight pirates. We rule star systems." Looked directly at him. "You know nothing about us. I know you will evacuate New Geneva, or we will do it for you." Walked out of the chamber for the last time. Behind her, aliens chatted about trade deals and lunch plans. They had just sentenced millions of humans to homelessness or death, and they did not care. She sent one final message to Earth. 3 words: diplomacy has failed. The fleet arrived at New Geneva ahead of schedule. 50 warships took position around the planet. They began broadcasting surrender demands to the colony below. Governor Price refused to respond. The first bombs fell 6 hours later. They targeted the orbital defense platforms, simple structures built to protect against asteroids and pirates. They stood no chance against military weapons. 50,000 humans died in the first attack. Families, workers, children, people whose only crime was living on a world someone else wanted. The news reached Earth 12 hours later. Admiral Blackwood stood in the command center as reports poured in. Her staff waited for orders. The secret fleet was ready. 500 ships armed with weapons the aliens had never seen. "Ma'am," asked her aide quietly, "what are your orders?" Blackwood thought about her daughter, who had been planning to move to New Geneva next year. She thought about the children playing in those parks. She thought about 60 years of human sweat and blood turned to ash. "Send the activation code to all fleet commanders," she said. "Operation Deep Strike begins now." "Ma'am, this means war." Blackwood looked at the tactical display. Red dots marked positions. Green dots showed hidden human fleets. For 2 centuries, humans had prepared for this moment. "They started the war when they murdered our people. We are going to finish it." Across human space, hidden shipyards powered up. Cloaked vessels began moving toward their targets. The galaxy was about to discover what humans had been building in the darkness. And they were about to learn why nobody should ever corner a predator from a death world. The first sign something was wrong came from the Altair system. A Confederation patrol scanning for pirate activity detected massive energy signatures appearing from empty space. Their sensors showed nothing. Then reality tore open. 12 human dreadnoughts materialized from quantum stealth fields. Each ship was 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapons the Confederation had never seen. The patrol ships tried to run. They never had a chance. The same scene played out across a dozen star systems. Hidden human fleets appeared like ghosts from the dark. In minutes, 2 centuries of Confederation naval supremacy vanished. On the flagship UES Indomitable, Admiral Sarah Blackwood stood before a holographic display of the galaxy. Red lights marked enemy positions. Blue lights showed her fleets. She had more ships than the Confederation had thought humans possessed in total. "Ma'am, all strike groups report ready," said her communications officer. "Good. Open a channel to every inhabited system in the galaxy. Maximum broadcast power." The officer's hands flew over his controls. "Channel open, Admiral. You are broadcasting to 800 billion sentient beings." Blackwood stepped forward. Behind her, the bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. These were humans from mining colonies and research stations. They had grown up knowing this day might come. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, "I am Admiral Sarah Blackwood of the Earth Defense Force. For 200 years, humanity has served the Confederation faithfully. We have mined your dangerous asteroids. We have fought your pirates. We have died for your safety." She paused, letting her words sink in across thousands of worlds. "In return, you have treated us as animals. You have restricted our movements. You have stolen our colonies. Yesterday, you murdered 50,000 innocent humans because you wanted their world." On Prime, the hegemony's ruling council watched in disbelief. General, supreme commander of their fleets, laughed at the display. "A pathetic attempt at intimidation," he said. "How many ships can they have? 20, 50. We will crush this rebellion in days." The Admiral continued her broadcast. "You demanded we prove our worthiness to exist among you. Today, we prove our ability to exist without you. The human colonies hereby withdraw from the Confederation. Any attempt to interfere with human worlds will be met with force." Across the galaxy, alien leaders scrambled to assess the threat. Human ships were appearing on sensors everywhere. The numbers made no sense. Earth was supposed to be a primitive world with limited industrial capacity. They were wrong. Captain commanded one of the new dreadnoughts. The UES Retribution was armed with weapons developed in secret laboratories on 100 human worlds. Fusion lances that could cut through any armor, quantum torpedoes that ignored shields, point defense systems that could track 1,000,000 targets simultaneously. His crew came from New Geneva. They had watched their families die in the attack. Now they wanted revenge. Target acquired, reported his weapons officer. Battle group, 12 heavy cruisers escort destroyers. They are broadcasting surrender demands, sir, ordering us to stand down and prepare for boarding. Almost smiled. The aliens still thought they were in control. Show them what happens when you threaten human families. Open fire. The battle lasted 17 minutes. The ships had thick armor and powerful shields. Their weapons could destroy cities. They had won 1,000 victories against pirates and rebels. But they had never fought humans who were truly angry. The human weapons cut through their defenses like paper. Fusion lances boiled armor into plasma. Quantum torpedoes appeared inside their ships, bypassing shields entirely. Their computer systems were overwhelmed by human cyber warfare programs. When the firing stopped, the battle group was gone. 12 major warships reduced to scrap metal and bodies floating in space. The UES Retribution had not even been scratched. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Confederation fleets that had ruled space were destroyed in minutes. Human ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating force, and vanished back into the dark. The aliens began to understand what they faced. On Earth, President Maria Santos addressed the Global Assembly. Representatives from every human world attended through quantum communication links. "My fellow humans," she said, "for too long we have accepted crumbs from their table. We have allowed them to dictate where we can live, what we can build, how we can grow. No more." She gestured to a star map showing human territory. It was larger than anyone had realized. Secret colonies on hidden worlds, mining operations in supposedly empty systems, research stations studying technologies the Confederation thought were beyond human understanding. "We are no longer subjects of an alien empire. We are free humans, masters of our own destiny. They forced this choice upon us, but we will not regret it." The Trade Consortium was the first to feel human economic warfare. Human ships appeared at their major trade routes, but instead of attacking, they simply blockaded everything. No goods moved in or out of space. Within a week, their stock market collapsed. Their industrial worlds ran out of raw materials. Their people began demanding answers from leaders who had no idea how to respond. They had grown rich by exploiting human labor. Now they discovered what happened when the humans stopped working for them. Captain led a strike force to the research station. Intelligence reports said the captured human scientists were being held there. His ships approached the heavily defended facility at maximum speed. "Sir, they are demanding we surrender. Station defenses are powering up." "How many guns do they have?" asked. 40 plasma cannons, sir. Enough to destroy a small fleet." Nodded. "Good thing we are not a small fleet. All ships commence bombardment." The human weapons lit up the darkness. The station's shields collapsed in seconds. Its weapons were destroyed before they could fire. Precision strikes disabled life support in military sections while leaving civilian areas intact. Human Marines teleported directly onto the station, using technology the Confederation thought was impossible. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, their armor adapting to any environment. The alien guards surrendered without firing a shot. They had heard the reports from other battles. Fighting humans was suicide. Found the imprisoned scientists in the station's detention level. They were weak from poor treatment, but alive. "Are we free?" asked Dr. Martinez, a geneticist who had been studying alien plant life. You are free, confirmed, and so is every human in the galaxy. News of human victories spread faster than light. Species that had considered humans primitive savages watched their fleets burn. The Confederacy called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Only half the members showed up. The others were too busy trying to defend their own worlds. "How is this possible?" demanded the leader. "Our intelligence services reported humans had no significant military capability." The truth was becoming clear. Human intelligence networks had been feeding false information to the Confederation for decades. They had hidden their true capabilities while learning everything about alien technology and tactics. Admiral Blackwood's second broadcast reached fewer ears than the first. Many worlds had gone silent, their communication networks destroyed by human cyber attacks. "We did not want this war," she said. "We wanted only to live in peace and build homes for our children. You have chosen to see us as enemies. Very well. Let us show you what humans do to their enemies." The massive human fleet began moving toward Confederation Prime. 200 dreadnoughts escorted by 1,000 smaller vessels. They moved in perfect formation, their quantum drives bending space itself. Behind them came the troop transports, 1 million human marines ready to fight on any world, in any environment. They had trained their entire lives for this moment. The Confederation had 2 weeks to prepare for the largest space battle in galactic history. Their combined fleets gathered at the capital system, over 3,000 ships from 100 different species. They believed numbers would save them. They were about to learn that quality mattered more than quantity. And when it came to warfare, Death World species had advantages that comfortable civilizations could never match. The final battle would decide the fate of every species in the galaxy. The liberation of New Geneva took 48 hours. Captain led the first wave of assault ships through the planet's atmosphere. Below, occupation forces had built defensive positions around the human cities. The aliens expected human ships to attack from orbit. Instead, Marines landed in the frozen wastelands outside the colonies. They had forgotten that humans were born on this world. They could survive in the ice storms and thin air that would kill most aliens. "Remember," told his troops over the radio, "these people are our families. Every civilian death is a failure." The human Marines moved through the blizzards like ghosts. Their armor adapted to the cold and wind. They had trained for years in similar conditions, huddled in their heated bunkers, unable to see through the storm. The first alien position fell without a shot being fired. Human infiltrators disabled the power systems and pumped sleeping gas into the air vents. They woke up as prisoners. Governor Price watched from her hiding place as human soldiers secured the city center. She had been in underground tunnels for weeks, coordinating resistance efforts. Now she saw her people's flag raised again over the government building. "This is Governor Price to all human forces," she broadcast. "Welcome home." While retook New Geneva, Captain struck at the heart of power. The aliens had built their empire on trade and profit. Their worlds were soft targets, protected by hired mercenaries and automated defense systems. Fleet appeared in the Zephyr system like a storm from space. The planetary defenses activated immediately. Thousands of missiles and energy beams filled the void around the human ships. None of them hit their targets. Human point defense systems worked at the speed of thought. Quantum computers calculated the trajectory of every incoming weapon and destroyed them with perfect accuracy. The alien missiles exploded harmlessly against walls of laser fire. "This is Captain of the Earth Defense Force," he broadcast to the planet below. "Your military forces have been neutralized. Surrender now and your civilians will not be harmed." The planetary governor tried to negotiate. "Captain, surely we can reach an agreement. The consortium is willing to discuss new trade arrangements with humanity." His response was cold. You voted to steal our colonies. You laughed when our people died. The time for negotiation is over. Human cyber warfare specialists had spent months studying computer systems. When they activated their virus programs, the planet's entire infrastructure shut down. Power grids failed. Communication networks went silent. Transportation systems stopped working. In 6 hours, the most advanced commercial civilization in the galaxy was reduced to chaos. They had built their society on complex computer systems. When those systems failed, everything collapsed. The blockade of space continued for 3 weeks. No ships entered or left their territory. Their trade empire crumbled as other species found new suppliers for goods and services. When they finally surrendered, their economy was in ruins. They agreed to pay massive reparations to human colonies and return all stolen mining rights. Admiral Blackwood planned the most daring operation of the war, a direct assault on Prime. There was the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. Orbital defense platforms surrounded it like a metal moon. The planet's surface bristled with weapon emplacements and shield generators. "Ma'am, our scouts report enemy fleet strength at over 400 ships," said her tactical officer. "Plus the planetary defenses. They outnumber us 3-1. Blackwood studied the holographic display. They had positioned their fleet in a perfect defensive formation. Any attacking force would face concentrated fire from multiple directions. "What they do not understand," she said quietly, "is that humans do not attack where the enemy is strong. We create our own weaknesses to exploit." The human fleet approached the system in standard formation. They prepared to meet them in conventional battle. Their ships moved into fighting positions, weapons charging for maximum effectiveness. They expected the humans to charge straight at their defensive line. Instead, the human ships vanished. Advanced stealth technology made the entire fleet invisible to alien sensors. While they searched frantically for their enemies, human ships moved through the system like silent hunters. The first attack came from behind the fleet. Cloaked destroyers appeared inside their formation and launched quantum torpedoes at point-blank range. 6 enemy capital ships exploded before their crews realized they were under attack. The second wave materialized near the orbital platforms. Human engineers had studied the platform designs for years. They knew exactly where to hit to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. Fusion lances cut through critical support structures. The massive platforms broke apart under their own weight, crashing into the planet's atmosphere like falling stars. General commanded the fleet from his flagship. He watched his perfectly planned defense crumble in minutes. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Our sensors show nothing." His science officer's hands shook as he worked his controls. "Sir, they are using quantum interference fields. Our sensors cannot penetrate them. They could be anywhere." A new voice filled the bridge. Admiral Blackwood had hacked their communication system. "General," she said, "I am Admiral Blackwood of the human fleet. Your orbital defenses are destroyed. Your ships are surrounded. Surrender now and your crews will be treated with honor." Pride would not allow surrender. Never. The Empire does not bow to inferior species. "Then you have chosen death." The final assault began at dawn on Prime. Human ships appeared from every direction at once. They moved like schools of fish, coordinating their attacks with perfect precision. They fought bravely, but they were outmatched in every way. Human weapons were more powerful. Human armor was stronger. Human tactics were superior. Most importantly, human crews fought with the fury of people defending their families. Every human in the fleet had lost friends or relatives to attacks. They would not be stopped. The battle ended when his flagship exploded. The general chose to self-destruct rather than surrender. Without their leader, the remaining ships fled or surrendered. Prime was defenseless. But the humans did not bombard the planet. Instead, Admiral Blackwood sent a message to the government. Your military is defeated. Your fleets are destroyed, but we are not conquerors. We are liberators. Surrender now and your people will be treated fairly. Continue to resist and we will remove your government and install a new one. The ruling council met in emergency session. Outside their windows, human ships patrolled the skies. Their communications were monitored by human intelligence services. They had no choice. The surrender came 12 hours later. As news of human victories spread, other species began changing sides. The Republic announced they were withdrawing from the Confederation and seeking peace with humanity. The followed soon after. Now serving as the human diplomatic liaison, received hundreds of requests for separate peace negotiations. Species that had mocked humanity weeks earlier now begged for mercy. But the war was not over. The core world still resisted. The ancient species that had ruled the galaxy would not give up their power easily. They gathered their remaining fleets at Confederation Prime, over 2,000 ships from 50 different species. It was the largest armada in galactic history. Admiral Blackwood's response was simple. She gathered every available human ship and headed for the capital system. The final battle would determine who ruled the stars. All ships, this is Admiral Blackwood, she broadcast to her fleet. Today we finish what they started. Today we show the galaxy what humans can accomplish when we work together, for Earth, for our colonies, for our future. The response came from 1,000,000 human voices across hundreds of ships, for humanity. The greatest space battle in history was about to begin, but the humans were ready. They had spent 2 centuries preparing for this moment. The galaxy was about to learn that Deathworld species did not just survive, they conquered. The Battle of Confederation Prime lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the combined fleets of 50 species lay broken among the stars. Admiral Blackwood stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the surrender signals from the surviving alien ships. She felt no joy in victory. Too many beings had died on both sides. Too much destruction had been necessary to win respect. "Ma'am, incoming transmission from the Supreme Council," reported her communications officer. The holographic display showed the jellyfish-like leader of the Confederation. His tentacles trembled with defeat and fear. "Admiral Blackwood," he said quietly, "the Confederation formally surrenders. We request terms for peace." Blackwood looked around her bridge. Her crew had fought bravely for months. They deserved to go home to their families. The war was over. "I will accept your surrender," she said, "but I am not the one who will negotiate terms. That honor belongs to our diplomats." She turned to another display. Appeared, now wearing the uniform of Earth's Secretary of State. Behind her stood representatives from every human world. "The terms are simple," said. "The Galactic Confederation is dissolved. In its place, we propose the formation of a new organization, one based on equality, not domination." The negotiations took 3 months. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered on neutral ground. Many aliens expected harsh punishment for their treatment of humanity. They were surprised by what the humans actually wanted. The new galactic coalition would have different rules. Every species that proved they were intelligent would have equal representation. No single group could dominate the others. Decisions would be made by majority vote, with protection for minority rights. Most importantly, the old restrictions on movement and settlement were abolished. Any species could explore and colonize new worlds, as long as they did not displace existing populations. Captains stood in the rebuilt capital of New Geneva. Construction crews worked around the clock to repair the damage from the occupation. Human and alien workers labored side by side. The old barriers were breaking down. "Captain," called Governor Price. She walked toward him with a group of engineers. "These have volunteered to help rebuild our water treatment facilities. They say they owe us a debt." Studied the alien engineers. They wore simple work clothes instead of military uniforms. Their eyes showed shame and regret. Why? He asked them directly. The lead engineer, a younger named, spoke carefully. Because we were wrong. We thought strength meant taking what we wanted. You showed us that real strength means protecting what you love. Nodded slowly. Welcome to New Geneva. Let us build something better together. Admiral Blackwood found herself in an unexpected role. The new coalition needed military leadership, and every species agreed that humans understood warfare better than anyone else. She became the supreme commander of coalition defense forces. Her first act was to establish the Galactic Military Academy on Earth. Officers from dozens of species came to learn human tactics and strategy. More importantly, they learned human values like honor, sacrifice, and protection of civilians. War is not about conquest, she told a class of mixed-species cadets. War is about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. The strongest warrior is the one who wins without destroying what they fight to defend. A young cadet raised her hand. Admiral, how do we know when to fight and when to seek peace? Blackwood smiled. Good question. You fight only when all other options have failed. But when you must fight, you fight with everything you have. Swift victory saves more lives than prolonged conflict. The economic rebuilding of the galaxy took longer than anyone expected. The trade consortium had collapsed during the war. Many species struggled to adapt to the new economic system. Humans helped where they could. Their mining expertise and industrial capacity were shared freely with former enemies. Human engineers designed better factories. Human agriculturalists developed new farming techniques. On Zephyr Prime, captains supervised the restoration of their computer networks. The virus attack during the war had been devastating but not permanent. Human technicians worked to rebuild what they had destroyed. Why are you helping us? Asked the governor. We voted to steal your colonies. We supported your enemies. Looked out at the city below. Children played in parks while their parents worked to rebuild their civilization. Because that is what civilized beings do, he said. We help those who need help, even former enemies. Became the first Secretary General of the Galactic Coalition. Her office was in a space station orbiting the former Confederation capital. Through her windows, she could see ships from 100 different worlds docking peacefully. Her first major challenge came from an unexpected source. Long-range scouts had discovered a new alien species on the galactic rim. They were powerful, aggressive, and completely unknown to Coalition databases. They have attacked 3 of our exploration ships, reported Captain, now serving as Director of Coalition Intelligence. Their technology is advanced, possibly beyond our own. Studied the tactical reports. The new aliens used weapons and tactics that no Coalition species understood. They had destroyed the exploration ships without warning or negotiation. Recommendations, she asked. Admiral Blackwood joined the meeting via hologram. We should send a diplomatic mission, but we should also prepare for the worst. Some species only understand strength. Nodded. Very well. Assemble a first contact fleet. Heavy diplomatic escort with full military backup. And Admiral, make sure they understand what happened to the last group that underestimated humanity. The fleet that departed for space included ships from 30 different species. Humans commanded the military vessels, while alien diplomats led the first contact team. It was the coalition working as it was meant to. On New Geneva, children of multiple species attended the same schools. Human kids played with juveniles and larvae. They learned each other's languages and customs. Governor Price watched them through her office window. A decade ago, this scene would have been impossible. Now it was normal. Ma'am, said her aide, a young Namedel, the mining survey reports are ready. The new asteroid belt has enough rare metals to supply the coalition for a century. Price smiled. Good. Make sure the profits are shared equally among all coalition members. No species gets special treatment. The aide nodded. She had been born after the war ended. For her generation, equality between species was natural. They could not imagine the old days of discrimination and exploitation. Captain, now promoted to admiral, led the first joint exploration mission beyond the galaxy's edge. His crew included humans and a dozen other species. They worked together with the efficiency that would have amazed their predecessors. Admiral called his science officer a named flowing thought of stars. We are receiving signals from the next galaxy, artificial origin. There is intelligent life out there. Studied the data on his screens. The signals suggested a vast civilization spanning thousands of stars. They used technologies that even the Coalition had never imagined. Set course for the signal source, he ordered. It is time for the galaxy to make some new friends. As his ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, thought about how much had changed. Humans were no longer the primitive species from a dangerous world. They were leaders of the greatest alliance in galactic history. But more importantly, they had changed what it meant to be strong. Strength was not about dominating the weak. It was about lifting them up. True power came from cooperation, not conquest. Delivered the annual State of the Galaxy address from the Coalition headquarters. Representatives from 947 species listened as she spoke about the year's achievements. We have established 17 new colonies, she announced. We have welcomed 3 new species to the Coalition. We have resolved 47 disputes through peaceful negotiation. She paused, looking out at the assembled delegates. Humans sat beside their former enemies. Species that had once fought now worked together to solve common problems. But our greatest achievement is not in statistics or numbers. Our greatest achievement is that we have created something new. A galaxy where strength serves wisdom, where diversity creates unity, where former enemies become lasting friends. The applause lasted for several minutes. When it finally ended, smiled. The of Earth once demanded only respect. Today we offer something better. We offer partnership. Together we will explore new worlds, discover new wonders, and face whatever challenges the universe brings. In the audience, Admiral Blackwood nodded with pride. The woman who had once stood alone in an empty Senate chamber now addressed the entire galaxy as an equal. Outside the station windows, ships from hundreds of worlds moved in peaceful traffic. Trade flowed freely. Families migrated to new homes without restriction. Children grew up believing that cooperation was normal and war was something from the distant past. The humans had won more than a war. They had won the future. And in that future, the from Earth would stand not as conquerors, but as guardians of a galaxy united in hope.